Good morning, good evening, good night, folks. This is your Five Tool Sports Podcast host, Woody Massey, and I'm here with Football Scout 365's Brandon Lundberg, our long-term collaborator and Statman. How you doing today, Brandon?
What's up? Yeah, another awesome show in the works here. I know we've been talking about going over the running back position, and today we're going to start off with Kenneth Walker III.
Kenneth Walker III, maybe the biggest Heisman snub.
Yeah,
Snub,
well,
excuse me. No.
stub, he is 5'9" and a half.
Yeah, he's a short
5'10".
guy.
Yeah, he's in that range. We'll find out at the combine what he really is.
Now that we know who we're talking about, without further ado, this is after further review.
There we go. Yeah, I'm excited, man. There's a lot of good running backs in this class. We're going to start off with Kenneth Walker III. I think he might be the best of the group as we go through these. There isn't a guy that really stands out in terms of there isn't, a Saquon Barkley in this class. There isn't a Jonathan Taylor
and
in this class.
Peterson, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, the closest to that would probably be Kenneth Walker in terms of a guy who can make something out of nothing, just a game breaker of a player. And there's a lot of guys that we can talk about, but we're going to start off with him and work our way through. I know we'll do more than just one running back. I know as we go through position by position, we're going to start off with the top skill position. Yeah, we're going to start off with the top guys at every position, and then we'll work our way down. Running back position's pretty deep, and we need to
Brandon, tell me if I'm crazy here. And I one thing I hate when people do comparisons, like where you'll compare a quarterback to another black quarterback because he's black, or if you compare another player to another player that went to a similar school just because you've seen someone in that uniform before.
Oh yeah. Well, it's running. It's for a running back. If we're looking at it, it's running style. Yeah. More than anything.
Tell me, like, he's obviously a little faster and a little smaller, but with his change of direction speed, Kenneth Walker really reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell.
There is a great fascination to find the next Le'Veon Bell because when Le'Veon Bell was at his peak in Pittsburgh, that guy was incredible. The ultimate running back, the guy that you could flex out wide, a wide receiver and all that. But I can see what you're talking about. There's a play that we're going to go over that looks like Lev Bell in the way that he kind of, manipulates the line of scrimmage and presses the line of scrimmage so tightly and then bounces outside. And this was a play when he was at Wake Forest. So yeah, there's some Lev Bell in his game as a receiver. As we go through, we've got a couple plays as a receiver, and it's one of those things where he wasn't utilized that much at Michigan State as a receiver, and it's more of a system thing.
Well, with catching the ball out of the backfield, I feel like that's like the jump shot of the NBA. Because the one thing that you can teach a guy that's super talented but not yet super skilled in basketball is the jump shot. If a guy can't shoot, it's been proven again and again and again. That's the one thing that you can shoot a guy. There's shooting coaches. You can change the arm for him. It's just repetition over and over and over again. Yeah. Lonzo Ball completely changed his jump shot from year 1 in the NBA to year 4. He went from being a below 30% three-point shooter. Now he's shooting 42% from three, and he's one of the best young players in the NBA. It's been proven again and again and again and again. It's one thing you fix. And with running backs, I feel like catching the ball out of the backfield is that thing. Like Ezekiel Elliott caught no passes in college. Now he's he's a great receiver out of the backfield.
Right. The system didn't really call for it at Ohio State when Zeke was there. I know J.K. Dobbins eventually became more of a receiving threat later on at Ohio State. Jonathan Taylor is a great example. His final year at Wisconsin, he had like 26 catches, I think just a shade under 300 yards. I went back to look at that because, a lot of the critique on him was his ability as a receiver out of the backfield, but Wisconsin did a good job putting it on tape that he is a guy who can do it. Like he's a guy who can give you enough as a receiver. He's not Lev Bell as a receiver, but he does enough as a dynamic playmaker in space if you just get the ball in his hands.
Yeah, what are the intangibles? We've gone over the quarterbacks, we've gone over the pass rushers. What makes an elite running back, especially in today's modern NFL?
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to look today that the three core factors that we're going to focus on when we're looking at Kenneth Walker III or any running back when we evaluate them, their vision, the player performs, what can the player find daylight? You're going to see that with Kenneth Walker III when we're watching the film. He's really good at finding daylight. Actually, I might not have graded him well enough in that category, actually, but
That's an understatement because from the highlights, I literally have them rolling over here to the left. He gets a lot of handoffs to the middle, like
oh
right
yeah,
up the gut, and it's never open. He rarely
yeah,
gets to enter the gut because there's 6 bodies there.
yeah.
So being able to find the hole outside is a talent, and if he can actually get holes in the NFL,
Yeah,
that's
it's
going to
going to
be
be
amazing.
another level for him. And
You said
then the
that he's
next,
leading the nation in after contact too. That shows that
yeah,
he's like finding holes.
yeah, he is number one. He has I think he had 1,600 yards rushing, just over 1,600 yards total, almost 900 yards or over 900 yards of yards after contact.
That's
So,
incredible.
and
That's incredible.
he was one of the most hit runners at the line of scrimmage as well among all college football running backs. So he's taking contact before he even gets going. He even gets going beyond the line of scrimmage, and then he's finding a way to make something out of nothing. And that's something you're looking for at the running back position, which leads me to the next quality that we're looking for, the core factor that we want to look at, and that's contact balance. And he does display excellent contact balance. I mean, it's near elite level. He bounces off of would-be tacklers consistently, and he makes something out of nothing. You'll see that a lot out of him. And then we just talked about the passing game impact from the running back position. What are they able to do, not just as a pass catcher, but in pass protection? Pass protection is something he probably needs to improve. And he's a willing blocker out of the backfield. But his ability as a receiver, we want to see more of what he can do. But what he has shown with his, 13 catches that he had with Michigan State this past season, 89 yards and 1 touchdown, is he has the ability to be a good receiver out of the backfield.
Nice. He definitely looks like he has the athleticism to be able to run that swing route out and be able to catch the ball in space and really pick up some extra yards. And that is a skill that is almost a necessity for every offense in the NFL now with how much shotguns run.
Oh yeah. He's definitely, what's interesting, again, Michigan State, I feel like they missed big time not using him as much as a receiver. Like there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, he completely disappeared against Ohio State when they were getting blown out and they couldn't run the football, and he just disappeared. We know that he can catch it out of the backfield, so why not have him out there, even line him up, maybe even in the slot and try to use him in that shape or form. They just didn't have that. And yeah, I would have loved to seen him be more involved, even down 49-0 when they were at halftime, by the way. So yeah.
Now with the changing of the guard in the NFL going more towards spreadish offenses and like the air raid and whatnot in Arizona and smaller quarterbacks and smaller skill position players, the whole point is getting that in the NFL now is getting the players that are explosive in space, just away from contact in space. And Kenneth Walker is making plays, getting himself into space from crowded areas. So if he enters an offense where he gets targeted to be already put in space, we might be seeing a diamond in the rough here. Because the guy that can create his own space, and then you get into an offense with a guy who's like, oh, I want to get that guy into space because he can make people miss and just bounce off tackles. Yeah, we're looking at he's the type of player that could be a game-changing fantasy running back for fantasy owners.
Yeah, look at what the NFL or how NFL defenses are starting to defend these super athletic quarterbacks with the strong arms. They're running more too high safeties now. They're defending deep balls, which opens up the run game. So the importance of having a running back like Kenneth Walker back there to take pressure off of the quarterback and force defenses to actually defend the run game more, that's where he's going to make his due, and all the running backs for that matter. That
my spidey senses are going off, and something inside of me says that Deshaun Watson will be going to Miami, and Houston's going to have multiple first-round picks. And they have no running backs, and I imagine Kenneth Walker Jr. will be one of those guys.
Kenneth Walker would be a nice piece to build on.
Very
sure.
much. Yeah, especially when they're not getting a lot of holes up front.
Yeah, that's 100% true, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's experiencing that. Look, one thing that I can say about him versus Saquon Barkley, his final year at Penn State, he took a lot of tackles for loss behind the line of scrimmage versus
same thing in the NFL.
Yeah.
Saquon is, you give him a little daylight and he's gone. But Kenneth Walker, you see consistency of making people miss. All right, well, now, so you went over the first. Is there any other traits you wanted to cover?
No, like I said, there were 3 traits that we're usually keying in on: vision, contact balance, and their impact in the pass game, whether it's a blocker as a receiver. I mean, those aren't the only things we're looking at, but those are like the core components to focus on generally when you're trying to evaluate.
Contact balance is a very underrated trait. That's pretty much what it made Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh yeah, that's elite. J.K. Dobbins and
that center of gravity, be able to always fall forward.
And him being, this guy being low center of gravity, his height being around 5'9.5", 5'10" or whatnot.
All right, well, without further ado, this is after further review.
Nice. We're gonna jump into the film.
I'm gonna make it a thing, I swear.
Play number 1 here for Kenneth Walker III. You will see this is Michigan State versus Northwestern. This is actually the very first play of the season for Michigan State, by the way. So this guy transfers from Wake Forest, by the way, comes to Michigan State, and this is how he debuts. The very first offensive play of the year for the Spartans, and the very first handoff or run play for Kenneth Walker goes for a touchdown on this opening play, by the way. So it's kind of like the introduction to what might come to be, right? And what he ended up being this season. Now, Northwestern, not a great team this past season, still very well coached under Pat Fitzgerald. So regardless of what they are as a team, this is a heck of a play by a player who proves this year that he is one heck of a running back. But again, you're going to see he's going to take that handoff. And let me try to rewind this here. This play is inside zone. You're going to see this offensive lineman is trying to break into he does break into the second level here. Walker is aiming towards that right A gap, and he is just going to bounce it to the outside. He makes a defender miss, and you're going to see him in the open field. That separation, the speed. Again, it's Northwestern defenders, but it doesn't matter. They're Big Ten defenders, and this is the very first play of the season for Kenneth Walker. So to me, that's super impressive. And on the replay here, as soon as it gets there, you're going to get a better view of this. So again, he's going to read the flow of the linebackers here. And he's going to cut back against the grain to the backside of the linebackers who are flowing to the front side of the play. And he finds daylight, makes a man miss, and then he takes it to the house here. You'll see, boom, he's aiming. And then he just jumps. And everybody, he's got leverage on everybody because he's got the flow of the linebackers going one way. And Northwestern, they read it right. They were going, where the football was supposed to go. And then again, Kenneth Walker III does what he does best, and he creates. Number 2 here, we're going to get an example of Kenneth Walker's ability as a receiver out of the backfield. One of the things you might start to hear from, the draft pundits of the world is that, we need to see more of Kenneth Walker's ability as a receiver. But what he does show, as we had mentioned earlier, is, he had 13 catches this past season for Michigan State, 89 yards and a touchdown. This is the one touchdown that he had this year. He does show the ability to make a good hands catch, and he just has good awareness in the open field to locate the defender and make a man miss. And on this play, he's going to do that, and he's going to, get to the pylon and score on this one. So he's just going out to the flat here, going to catch it with his hands. He's looking. He's trying to figure out where is that defender, because he knows that play may not seem overwhelming or great, but it just.
I thought it was a great recovery from a bad.
Yeah, trying to locate that linebacker. Like immediately, he makes a good hands catch out there in space. He's trying to figure out where is that guy, and he just recognizes where he's at and gets around the corner and scores it. So that's one of the good examples of Kenneth Walker as a receiver. All right, play number 3 here, Kenneth Walker III. This is going to be a stretch here down to the boundary side of the field. Kenneth Walker is actually going to get hemmed in by 2 defenders on this particular play. And we're going to get a nice look at what Kenneth Walker does best. He's a creator. He's a creator of a runner. He's a guy who, you know, he's a yards after contact savant, right? This guy finds a way to make something out of nothing. On this particular play, you're going to see him. He's going to get down here in the boundary. Two players are going to hem him in, and he's going to find his way out of it, and he's going to get north and south in a hurry. And he turns a negative, potentially negative play right here into a positive, and boom, right there. You can see it. Number 12 should have had him. He stops on a dime, cuts it back, gets north and south in a hurry. And at the next level, the NFL level, you may not get away with stuff like that. But again, it just shows his ability to recognize, okay, I need to find something, I need to create. And, you know, that was a senior Michigan linebacker out there. Josh Ross does a terrible job, you know, wrapping him up right there. And that's something you have to do when you are trying to defend Kenneth Walker.
How much did it hurt to crawl over the film of this game?
Oh, this game is awful for me. Play number 4, we're going to get a good example of Kenneth Walker's ability to create, once again, his vision and his ability to find daylight. This is another Michigan State's going to attempt the inside zone run play here, it appears, as number 75 here, the right guard, is going to get jammed up. He's trying to get to the second level, and one of the first things Kenneth Walker recognizes, Michigan is just clogging up the middle, and they're going to force him to bounce this play to the outside. So we'll go ahead and run it here. Boom. You can see he's aiming for that A or B gap in here, and 75 is going to try to break out. He struggles to get off to the second level, and then boom. Walker's going to break it to the outside. Notice number 97 here, Aiden Hutchinson, who is actually a really strong run defender, does a really good job keeping leverage on running plays. And Michigan's senior linebacker, once again, Josh Ross. They both run into each other back there on this particular play.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's just another great example. Like I said, he's creating. He's got great vision. Look at, you know, he really baits Aiden Hutchinson on this play. If you look right there, you see that left foot. He's moving forward, and then he's just going to cut back just perfectly. Change of direction like we talked about, and then he just turns it upfield into the daylight. And he just keeps moving, getting to that sideline. Everything perfect there for a running back, and everything that you want to see out of a running back on a play like that, especially when there's just nothing there. And I like to say it's numbers, angles, grass. Well, again, you know, this is what Kenneth Walker does a great job of. He recognizes where the numbers are early on in this play, and everything's just bunched up over here. And then he forces these guys into bad angles, and he finds the open grass. He just keeps the legs moving, keeps churning, finding open field, and makes a play. So turns potentially a negative play or a gain of maybe a yard or two into, you know, a first down.
Oh, this is another Michigan one?
Yeah, here we go. Play number 5, another nice play here against Michigan's defense. You're gonna get a mixture of different things here from Kenneth Walker. He's gonna show good contact balance, vision to find daylight, and then explosiveness as he moves into the second and third level of the defense here. So he's going to take this handoff. Boom. He's in the line of scrimmage, right? And you're thinking, all right, he could bounce it into this hole right here immediately, but he's actually going to make contact before he does bounce this play. But then he gets it, finds daylight, explodes into the second and third level.
That was calculated. He went into that pile to draw the defenders in to create the hole outside to bounce it.
That's Usually they don't get that far into the hole before bouncing it, but here's a nice view for that purpose.
He stuck his full foot in the cave there and jumped right back out.
Yeah, pressing the line of scrimmage.
Look at that safety come up. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh yeah. And here's the thing, he's just got a knack for that, you know, and if I mean, honestly, there wasn't anybody who was going to be able to wrap him up in that pile and him bouncing out of there. He does this consistently. And again, when you do that and you recognize, okay, if he can bounce it outside, that's dangerous for a defense because most defenders are sucked into that action when they get up into the line of scrimmage. They think the play is over, or, you know, they're going to come up and try to back clean up in the middle, and then he bounces it and has that speed, finds the daylight and scores it. So,
and if this is the third form of Kenneth Walker, I wonder how good the first two were.
yeah, dude, honestly, this guy makes plays, man. He's definitely somebody that I think at the NFL level, he's going to make a difference somewhere. A lot of times we're not seeing running backs drafted to particularly bad teams recently. Like we had Najee Harris go to the Steelers, right? A year ago. We've had J.K. Dobbins to the Ravens. Saquon Barkley is a victim of a guy being drafted high up by a bad team, right? And
yeah, normally the running back is the cherry on top of the sundae, but for the Giants, it became the ice cream.
Play number 6 here is when Walker was at Wake Forest before he transferred to Michigan State. And you're going to get his best Lev Bell impersonation here. He's going to show his patience, his vision, and again, he's going to find daylight. He also presses the linebackers again before jump cutting to the backside and just making an explosive play. So he turns. I mean, this isn't a play where he's turning something into nothing. I mean, there's literally no penetration by the defensive front at all against the offensive line, honestly, but he is pressing defenders at the line of scrimmage and then he bounces it outside. All right, I'll go ahead and run this. He's down in Michigan State this year. So all these are translatable things at the next level, by the way.
Totally.
Yeah, and I fully expect him to be productive in this same fashion at the NFL level as well. So he's an instinctual player. Final play here, we're going to get a flare route here to Kenneth Walker. We're going to get another example, or at least one more example of his ability as a receiver, his instincts as a player in space with the football in his hands. On this play, he creates, right? There's nothing there to the outside. The whole defense reacted to where he was going. And then when he caught that football, everybody was over there, right? So he cuts it back against the grain, makes a huge play as a receiver. And again, for me, I want to see more of this. I think it's going to be impactful at the NFL level. We already know what a good receiver out of the backfield can do. And as we discussed at the beginning of the show, with defenses, trying to cover the deep ball more with 2 high safeties, it's going to be paramount for teams to start using the running back in this capacity, not just as a runner, but as a pass catcher to check down to. I think that he exhibits a strong ability in that capacity to really benefit an NFL team. So nothing's guaranteed, but I feel confident that this is a guy who will be able to exhibit more of his ability as a receiver at the NFL level than what he did at the collegiate level.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking of fits for this guy watching these plays as well. And this might be exactly, if the Seahawks end up holding on to Russell Wilson, which probably not, this home run threat out of the backfield would be a perfect counter to Chris Carson.
Absolutely. And again, I feel like he's got the every down ability. He's got 3 down ability.
Yeah, but as a rookie, it's no problem to have a vet in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It helps. Yeah. And Carson, if he ever plays again,
yeah,
judging by the nature of his injury, or if he's able to even be as impactful as he once was, I mean, it would be pretty beneficial for him.
Carson runs so hard when you got neck problems. It's just not a good look.
Never a good combination, right?
All right, Brandon. So we've broken down the tape. Give me his key strengths, his weaknesses, and then his final draft grade.
Yeah, so the key strengths, we had seen his vision, we've seen his patience, we've seen his burst and short area quickness, and we also, we got to witness within the, small sample size eclipse there, his contact balance, his ability to create. We already know that, he led college football in yards after contact this past season. His key weaknesses, looking at those, his route running out of the backfield. He exhibits an ability as a pass catcher. He looks like he looks the part, right? I wouldn't call it a weakness, so to speak. We don't see a lot of him doing stuff out of the backfield route wise, right? Like the wheel route or the angle route. I want to see a little bit more of that from him, and I think that we will. He shows the athleticism to do that kind of thing. He's a hands catcher out of the backfield as well. And again, once that football's in his hands, look out, the Deebo Samuel type ability. He's going to try to find an opening or a crease, and he's going to exploit it. And then his ability and pass protection.
Growing necessity in the NFL with all the blitzes.
Yes. Well, one of the main evaluation keys to an evaluation of a running back: 3-down ability, right? What are they able to do in pass protection? Now on film, it's spotty at times, but he does show the ability to do it, and the willingness to do it. He's not shying away from contact. And then the final analysis here for Kenneth Walker, he's a dynamic playmaker, as we had seen on the film clips, the small sample size. You can turn on any of his highlight tapes and see it, or just watch a game of this guy. He makes play after play from time to time, and it's consistent. He's a guy who gets better as the game goes along. Look at the Michigan game as a strong example of him, getting better as the game goes on. The great running backs do that. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins was one of the best examples of that at Ohio State. Not only did he get better as the game went on, but he got better against better competition, and then he would get better late in the season. Like, the dude was just light shine bright for J.K. Dobbins. Kenneth Walker did that against Michigan, right? They were down several scores. Michigan State did not give up on the run game, and this guy made plays, right? And down the stretch of that game, and he was the biggest reason, honestly, they won that game, other than the strip sack in the end zone that the refs didn't give Michigan the touchdown. Nevertheless, I have him currently as the highest rated running back on my NFL draft big board so far. Still evaluating all of them a little bit closer because there could be some changes, but I do imagine a lot of people will have him up there at the top. And if there weren't some question marks about his ability as a receiver out of the backfield, which, again, it's not that he's not a good receiver. We just want to see more of what he can do. I think that he would definitely be surefire number one on everybody's big board at the running back position. And as far as his final grade is concerned, I've got him as the high upside potential player, a solid starter at the NFL level, with his ceiling being a high-end instant impact player at the NFL level. And he's basically already at his floor to me. Like, I don't think he's not going to get worse.
He's a plug and play. He's going to come in and be somewhat productive.
Yeah, and he has the ability to just go in there, and be that J.K. Dobbins type player right away.
Well, when you can create your own hole at the line of scrimmage, that's a nice power to have in the NFL.
Right. And when it's not there, finding a way to get away from contact or bounce off contact and make a play, and that's what he's special at doing. So that's 100%.
It. Well, Brandon, these are my favorite things that we've been doing lately during the week. Without further ado, that's After Further Review.
There we go. We got it right. This time it's not me, though, freezing up and not.
Just do a record scratch from the first.
We just can this one and always just put that one at the end.
Yeah, right?
Perfect.
Nice little tongue twister.
All right. That's Kenneth Walker.